Hey, welcome everyone.
Headline: DHS beats Bossberg with appeals court, ending his contempt proceedings against the Trump administration. This is the Washington Times, and this is in response to Judge Bossberg, or as I call him, Nosferatu, because he looks like Nosferatu from the early 20th century Dracula movies. He just does. So he somehow was assigned after a bunch of Trendy Aragua gang members, rapists, drug dealers, the really savory types. DHS deported them as they should. They had been through their little so-called due process, which they do not deserve, nor are they entitled to, because they are not citizens of this country. And these crank far leftists treat these individuals as though they have the same constitutional rights that we do, or even higher above our rights. Anyway, somehow some immigration attorney filed emergency orders and blase, and Judge Bossberg ruled on it. You need to turn that plane around in midair. What? You can't even do that. It's not physically possible to do that. What are you? I mean, I love the X-Files. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually watching it again because I just love the X-Files. Oh, God. But that's some X-Files shit, Bossberg. Yeah. We don't have technology that you can stop or do a three-wheel motion in air at 1,000 miles an hour, 30,000 feet in the air. You freaking moron. So he said, turn the plane around. No, we're not turning the plane around, you idiot. So he filed contempt charges against President Trump and has carried this on for more than a year. Well, the Fifth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in DC judges slapped his ass down. You know it's ratchet when DC judges that are notoriously left, they even said, bruh, I'm gonna need you to pump the brakes. This is too much. You are just showing your TDS. We need you to stop. So the Court of Appeals said that continued investigation is, quote, improper, and that his reasoning for pursuing contempt of court prosecutions for Trump officials is a, quote, dead end, because the judge is misreading his own orders. Circuit Judge, it goes on to say, Circuit Judge Naomi Rao said Judge Bossberg has crossed too many lines. This is a DC leftist court. He has crossed too many lines. Damage to the separation of powers between the president and the courts. She said Judge Bossberg must end his pursuit of the president and his team. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals even called this, quote, intrusive. It's too obvious that he is doing this because he hates the president. And how is it that these immigration attorneys and these activists, NGOs, keep finding the same damn judge for every freaking case they file? They go judge shopping across the country. It always somehow ends up on Bossberg's desk.
They have their plants in there.
Interestingly enough, when this first took place, he was not even on the damn docket. He made this verbal ruling like in the middle of the night on a Sunday. You're not even working, and you made this ruling? Okay. How did he pick the case? I mean, it's supposed to be done when you're off duty and you have like these weekend cases. It's supposed to be a random, like, oh, this judge gets it this week. Oh, random this judge. But it always seems to go to Judge Bossberg. It does not look good on your record when you are of the black robed brood, AKA a judge, when your decisions keep getting overturned. He is in dangerous territory for his own career. He's setting his own house on fire, and I'm here for it. Keep doing it. But at this juncture, the Fifth Circuit DC Court of Appeals said, stop, and it can go no further. So, President Trump, Department of Homeland Security, congratulations. You defeated Nosferatu.
All right, this is about Michigan State Representative Karen there.
Amen. People are waking up.
I am Michigan State Representative, a Democrat, Karen Whitsett. And
she's going to run in the Republican district.
I live in the area that I have been representing since I was 2 years old. And I've been in office now. This is my 8th year. I have always been pretty much on the balancing side of things, as I like to see it. And I try to use common sense always.
Oh, I thought this was a different video. Okay.
Definitely do what the district wants done. But in the last 4 years, that became quite difficult to be able to do, even when we were under leadership of the Speaker of the House being Democrat. And I just sincerely kept asking, please do not back me into a corner. Please do not back me into the corner. Please do not keep pushing LGBTQ agenda. Please do not keep pushing the abortion agenda. The governor wanted to have Medicaid funded abortions. What? And I was absolutely not. I was number 56. You have to have 56 votes. And I was number 56. And I was not doing it. I was not budging on that. That was not going to happen. Rape, incest, life and death of the mother are already covered. It's already bad enough that we're up to 9 months that you can terminate a pregnancy. And people do not even realize that they voted for that. It's just getting more and more to a point where if you misgender someone, if you look like a woman, I'm going to address you as a woman. I'm just a firm believer, and I'm just very blunt with it. I'm not a co-signer of crazy. You can do all of that and be all of that all you want. But when you try to force it on me and make it my reality, now we have a problem. I don't understand how Christian, Bible go together in Democratic Party.
It doesn't.
I did not compromise myself as far as a vote was concerned, but
Tammy.
Enough where I feel compromised, where I would have liked to have done more to make sure these things didn't happen. But it's just God has called me to move in a different direction, and I definitely want to try to.
Yeah. I like to see them walking away after a while. When they go too far left, I think so. This is about Canada. Here, I'll look.
Canada's making world news again. And if you're like, oh, what this time? Did something cool happen? No, Canada just being Canada and freaking out over dumb as shit. And we have added 6 new letters to the alphabet group because apparently there's a genocide going around. And if we don't add these groups into just watch.
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQQIA+. This is abhorrent.
I couldn't even remember all those letters.
Yeah. If you're like, oh, what are those extra letters? The MMIW means missing and murdered Indigenous women that just got lumped into a group that's trying to figure out where to piss. Are you going to give them a pronoun next? Like, what?
It's ridiculous.
And then they added an extra Q in there for questioning, but not the way I'm questioning these people's sanity.
It is ridiculous, isn't it, Kurt?
Okay, you guys, listen. I designate Canada the retard colony of the universe, right? That means we get all of the normal Canadians and we get them out of Canada. We take Alberta and Saskatchewan, and then we take all of the world's crazies. Insane, woke, dumb, extremist, terrorists, all of them. And we just put them into Canada.
Alberta and Saskatchewan are those only 2 normal ones up there, I think.
And then we build a wall. We build a big, huge wall. We point lasers on the inside. And then we don't allow them outside internet. They're only allowed internet on the inside. And we just leave them alone, unsupervised. And then we come back in 50 years and check on them just to see what happened. It will solve all the world's problems because Canada is so far gone. There's I don't know if there's any coming back. Quite a big country, right? It's cold. Put all the crazies up there. Fuck it. Close it off. And just let's see what happens, because I don't know what that. I have no idea what's. I'm confused. Okay, I'm confused.
It make my head spin too. All right, here's another Somali scammer up there. Took over $1 million in federal funds.
The last member of a criminal fraud family has decided to plead guilty instead of facing trial in 11 days. Gandhi, do you have any comment? Gandhi Mohammed's plea deal includes slightly more potential prison
Watch how easy of a deal they did for him.
time than his first offer that he turned down, but it has a pretty significant addition: immunity from future fraud prosecution. Gandhi Mohammed, who changed
it's probably a lot more that they were doing, and he's getting away with it.
His name to Gandhi Kadiye months before he was indicted, admitted laundering $1,389,500 as part of the $300 million Feeding Our Future meal fraud scheme. His family, led by sister Ikram Muhammad, ran a $14 million fraud scheme by opening up fake
daughter was named Muhammad
meal sites at properties owned by Gandhi. They paid him rent to launder some of that money, and he's ordered to pay back that $1.4 million amount. One of the sites where they claim to serve phony meals to needy kids is the location of a personal care assistance company Gandhi runs called Comfort Services LLC. According to my initial figures, as I await updated totals from the Department of Human Services, Comfort Services has received more than $36 million in Medicaid reimbursements across 4 programs that are at
all your tax dollars
high risk for fraud. That's where that immunity portion of the plea deal is big. Sir, is it a relief to have immunity? Is it a relief to have immunity against any Medicaid crimes that may be investigated right now? We don't know if Gandhi committed Medicaid fraud as well, but if he did, he will not be prosecuted for it. He's now looking at about
not unless some of them split off. Some of the providences are trying to split off.
About 3 years in prison. I'm Lou Raguse. Follow for more news.
I agree with you, Marianne. I agree. Where was I going to go next? Straight to this one.
Now to Decision 2026, as one Democratic candidate for governor is out with his immigration platform, and it is not without controversy.
Watch this. Your jaw will drop.
NBC4's Robert Kovacic following this for us from the newsroom, and he has reaction. Robert.
Carolyn, this is drawing a lot of attention. Consider 10 million views on X.
Only 3 years,
of right? Elon Musk's one-word response to Tom Steyer's platform. Wow. We travel tonight to downtown Santa Barbara, where Tom Steyer is not backing down.
ICE is a criminal organization operating in California. Unfortunately, the governor of California, as much as I'd like to, doesn't get to abolish ICE.
Candidate Tom Steyer tonight speaking to NBC4 after a town hall in Santa Barbara, saying he wants California to have the ability to prosecute and possibly imprison ICE agents.
Now, earlier today, I hope I downloaded it. There was a video. Maybe I didn't. But they're in Minnesota. They're going to start prosecuting ICE agents. They're going to claim, they pointed a gun at someone or this or that. They're going to start all these prosecutions of ICE agents.
But they can't run wild in our streets. They can't be allowed to do racial profiling. They can't be allowed to commit violence against Californians.
Steyer's immigration platform published.
The ones committing violence are the ones attacking the ICE agents trying to do their job.
Today on Substack, how California can put ICE in jail. It details that the state must stand up to the federal government.
Oh, they're trying to imprison ICE agents, Tammy. They're trying to.
And, quote, fight fire with fire.
See what he's talking about? That in Minnesota, too.
Taking on ICE, quote, the same way we took on the mob.
And we're going to stand up for those rights.
And these will be state charges, so Trump won't be able to pardon them.
In every instance, and insist that they obey the laws of California and that they obey the laws of the United States.
They're also passing new ones to go after the ICE agents, making up new laws.
Which they do not do.
The U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Asaley, telling NBC4 tonight, I'm not going to comment on a wannabe politician's desperate attempt to get attention. I simply refer him to the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution. That clause, meaning federal law, prevails.
There was a press conference it was Minnesota today, and they were talking about the charges they filed for arrest, and they got warrants out for these ICE agents nationwide from Minnesota, but they're nationwide warrants against them. They want to charge them and put them in jail, basically for doing their job. They claim that one of them said that he was accused of pointing his gun at someone and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that happens when they're getting all ruly.
Steyer's response?
We have a criminal organization insisting that it has a right to be a criminal organization. No.
Recent campaign ads from
doing their job's not criminal.
Opponents point to Tom Steyer's former hedge fund investing in a private prison company now operating as immigration detention centers. And tonight, Republican candidate Steve Hilton slamming Steyer's plan, stating this is far-left extremism. He is calling for federal agents to be targeted on the streets and thrown in jail for enforcing the law. That is incitement.
Also today on Fox News, the new head of the Department of Homeland Security reiterating Tom Steyer has no authority to abolish ICE. DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen going on to say ICE agents are, quote, not doing anything outside of the law. In our newsroom, I'm Robert Kovacik. Carolyn, that's the latest from here.
All right, Robert.
Well, they've gotten some judges in some of these other states to sign warrants against them. They're coming after them. This is talking about Texas, Houston, Texas.
And while we have not heard yet from Mayor John Whitmire, we have heard from one Harris County Commissioner, Rodney Ellis.
That's right. KPRC2's Joy Addison spoke with Ellis, who says recent action by Houston City Council sparked his push, Joy, for new county guidelines.
Lisa and Keith, that's right. Harris County is seeing some of the highest ICE arrest numbers in the country. And Commissioner Rodney Ellis says there's no consistent guideline for how local agencies should respond. Now he's pushing to change that.
We'll read the law.
Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis wants Commissioners Court to develop countywide ICE interaction guidelines.
Correct. I was watching what was happening at City Hall.
You can see the Democrats are getting more desperate to stop all the deportations because they know it's hurting them voting-wise. They know it.
I was inspired by what was happening at City Hall.
Yesterday, I played a video about in 3 Latino districts, really high Latino districts, Republicans won by bigger numbers than Trump. They want deportations. It's the Democrats that don't want them.
Commissioner Ellis says the issue goes beyond policy, impacting how safe people feel in their own communities.
If I go to work sites around Harris County and my
if you're here illegally, get the hell out. Then you don't have to worry about anything.
precinct and others, people start running. If I'm in a car, I look like I might be an ICE agent. That makes it difficult for them to cooperate with law enforcement.
Right now, he says there's no single standard for enforcement.
What are the current guidelines?
All over the board. It depends on which law enforcement entity you go to.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office confirms via email it does not have a policy that specifically addresses interactions with ICE in the community. Ellis says that lack of consistency creates risk.
You run the risk of an individual deputy making a decision on what they perceive to be the rules of engagement.
Commissioner Ellis says the county attorney and the office of the county administrator will help develop the guidelines. They wouldn't be mandatory because the county does not oversee its local law enforcement, but would set a clearer, more consistent standard across agencies.
Things always operate better when people know the rules, when they're transparent.
They don't seem to know the rules. They should be able to read the law, you'd think.
This is the News 4 Rundown.
And we begin tonight with new developments in that lawsuit to stop an ICE detention facility from moving forward outside Hagerstown. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Adley. This afternoon, a federal judge ordered a preliminary injunction limiting what kind of construction can be done at the massive warehouse in Williamsport.
Now, what judge has to do with permitting for buildings and stuff like that? What the hell? They're doing everything to delay, install until they can get Trump out. And if they win midterms, they'll really try hard to get Trump out. They'll tie him up.
Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins has been covering the debate and was in Baltimore for today's developments.
Today, a federal judge ruled that the Attorney General of Maryland was correct and that there needs to be a preliminary injunction in place to stop the building of this ICE detention center in Washington County, Maryland. And there were a lot of people inside of the courthouse, but before they were inside, they were outside with protests and people who had gathered here to make it clear that they don't want to see this building built. This is a warehouse that could hold up to 1,500 people.
We're saving money by repurposing the warehouse. It's not being used. What the hell? Get the goddamn illegals out of here.
But according to the federal government, they're trying to put in just about 500 people. And there have been a lot of questions about that. And there have been questions about environmental impact studies and questions about the outfitting of this building and the plumbing and water and the rest of it. These are
delay, cost. It cost us a lot of money to fight them all the time in these courts.
Questions that the judge had today for the federal government, and quite frankly, there weren't a lot of good answers from the federal government, which is part of the reason the judge said, let's continue communication between the state and the feds. Let's get a preliminary injunction in here, but let's also give the federal government an opportunity to protect this property by putting up fencing, putting up some lighting, protecting their investment. But the judge said, I'm not issuing you a back door to build a detention center, but what I am saying is that you have a right to protect your property. So we talked to a lot of the folks who were out here today about what this means for them and why they have been protesting since word first spread of the purchase of this detention center.
You can't just build one of these things without going.
The building's already up. They just got to remodel it a bit.
Through the necessary steps to make sure that you have done what the law requires. And the judge was really standing firm on that, and I'm relieved.
This judge gave a lot of thought to every aspect.
Can you tell they're all libtards? You see the guy with the rainbow stuff there? It's a libtard right there.
Of this, and had looked at a lot of court cases.
It's all a lot of white liberals.
It just made me feel like, there's something to be said for the judicial branch of our government. I liked it.
This is an issue for the whole state of Maryland and
There's
for the whole
another one.
nation. And I
bet you these all the same women that would be for the trans issue too.
a believing Christian, and I know Jesus taught us to love our neighbor and welcome the stranger.
So the next question is, how long is this preliminary injunction going to last? We won't know that until the judge issues his official ruling in writing, and we're expecting that to happen on Friday. In Baltimore, I'm Tracy Wilkins, News 4 I-Team.
Now, an attorney for DHS did say in court that no detainees would go into the facility until further reviews. Meanwhile,
I think I clicked on it too soon. Sorry.
So we've got new numbers out this afternoon on ICE arrest here in San Diego that kind of tell an interesting story.
Our NBC7 Investigates team has been combing through that data. Shelby Bremer joins us now to explain. Shelby.
Yeah, Mark, Monica, we only get these data drops every few months. So this is the very first time we're getting a full picture of 2025. It also shows a little bit of a shift this year. And there's one other data point that really stuck out to us and the people who live this every day.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
That's how Anna Lang describes her
Illegals helping or regular people helping illegals.
Community organization that steps in to help North County families dealing with an immigration arrest and detention.
Step in to keep the illegals here.
5-6-year-old kids, they know what's going on with ICE. They know who ICE is, La Migra.
This past year, she's been busy, and we now have new numbers that show it. The data comes straight from ICE itself, released in response to a FOIA request processed by the Deportation Data Project and analyzed by NBC-owned stations.
They shouldn't resist when they go to get arrested either. That just makes the situation worse.
You can see in this chart, ICE detentions in San Diego really picked up in September last year, then peaked at more than 1,500 in December, before falling slightly in the first 2 months of this year. Of the more than 8,600 people detained in San Diego in 2025, the data shows just 1 out of every 4 had a criminal conviction.
The fact of the matter here is that we are not going after the worst of the worst.
Immigration attorney Narciso Cruz attributes that drop in detention.
How about if we go after all of them? They're here illegally because they're all here illegally. Catch them as we catch them. They've been catching a lot of really bad ones, too.
This year to a shift in approach after high-profile operations like in Minneapolis.
No matter who you're deporting, They seem to fight every deportation anyways, even if they really are bad.
My goal in 6 months is that we're not in the lead story every single day.
During his confirmation hearing last month, the new Homeland Security Secretary himself signaled change.
Said we will not enter a home or a place of business without a judicial warrant unless we're pursuing the individual that runs into a place of business or a resident or a house.
They're still doing what they're always been doing, except that they're out of the spotlight.
The latest data also shows in San Diego, ICE detained 22 children in 2024. In 2025, that number skyrocketed to 414.
A lot of these kids they're talking about were being sex trafficked anyways.
Cruz says that's largely children detained with their parents as a unit.
And it hurts me because at one point...
You deport family... The family you deport together stays together.
I was one of them.
Years ago, Anna spent time in a detention center.
It was traumatizing just seeing people you don't know. You don't know the people, you don't know the language, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah, and how about us with all these illegals coming in? We don't know their language. That's people we don't know.
There.
Now she works with kids in those same shoes, like a child who refuses to go to school.
You know, he's 12. And he's like, no, I want to stay here home because I want to take care of my mom.
What about them being a useful citizen someday? How would that be without them going to school?
And it's like...
Or at least homeschooling.
Why do they have to do this?
Because you can't take millions and millions and millions and put them all on welfare and that turn into Europe.
Reached out to ICE to ask about all of these numbers and their approach lately. We haven't heard back yet, but I want to point out one other thing that immigration attorney told me. He said it's not just detentions. There have been so many changes to legal pathways that have made a big impact too. Back to you.
Yep. Well, they're desperate to get all these illegals in now.
We're getting new.
Now this is in New York, my state. The numbers have gone way up. But to me, I wish it were a lot higher than this.
We're getting new insight tonight into the surge of immigration arrests here in Western New York. Investigative Post published new numbers, and you can see them right there on your screen. Last year, federal immigration agents took into custody about triple the number of migrants as the year before. Meanwhile, we're also learning about who was arrested. Was it really the worst of the worst, as some federal leaders have claimed? J. Shoemaker is a reporter with Investigative Post who has been...
They're illegal, deport them.
...covering immigration issues probably more than anybody else around and broke this story. So, Dale, before we talk about who is being arrested, let's talk about these numbers. I don't know that it surprises people that it's triple from 24 to 25, but what did you make of it, big picture?
Yeah, so this is the data that we have been waiting for. There is a group of academics and lawyers who call themselves the Deportation Data Project. They have ongoing FOIA requests with the federal government. That's how we're able to get these numbers. That's all to say that ICE does not proactively make this public. You have to sue them, typically through the FOIA process, to get this information. We finally have the data for 1 year of Trump's promised crackdown, and it is, in fact, the crackdown that we all thought it was. The agents that you've seen on the streets, the headlines that you've seen, these are the numbers behind all.
So he's doing what he said he was going to do, trying to.
All of that. So it's not really a surprise that things have gone up so much. I will caution, however, that this is probably, we don't have the figures on this, but this is probably a pretty significant undercount because this is ICE arrests only. We are a border region. We have a heavy presence of Border Patrol here. The Border Patrol arrests are not counted here. And as we've reported in the past, there's a lot of them, dozens even, in collaboration with local police forces.
And then when we talk about who is being arrested, the president many times has said worst of the worst, we're going after rapists and murderers and all that. And that has certainly happened in cases. But what percentage of the people who have been arrested, who have been detained, actually had criminal records or had criminal charges?
It's about 1/3. About 1/3 of those arrested.
It's a third too many. Does that mean we only keep that third? But they'd still protest to try to keep them in.
Had some kind of criminal record. So to the flip side of that is 2/3 did not. And this is not, this is nothing. They have nothing on their record. It is 2/3 of the people arrested had nothing on their record. The only thing they're
here illegally. Bye-bye. They're doing their job.
Might have had is an immigration violation, which we will note is civil violations. There's very few immigration, quote unquote.
And that can get, if you're illegal, that gets you deported.
Crimes. I mean, crossing the border after you've been deported is a crime, and the federal government is certainly prosecuting those people for those crimes. However, when ICE is arresting somebody, more often than not, it is somebody who is an asylum seeker, who has an active asylum case going through the immigration court system, and they are being arrested before their case has been fully adjudicated.
And then finally, you also were able to get the numbers.
And if they're coming in by like 18, 20 million, can you adjudicate all them? Get them hell out.
Get the specifics on folks how many of them have actually been deported, have been removed from the country, versus how many either remain in custody, likely maybe down south or in other facilities, or were released on bail or just released off.
Especially if they're on our welfare systems.
Together.
Yeah, so across all of upstate New York, now the Buffalo ICE office covers, from the counties just above New York City all the way over here to Buffalo. So across that region, we're looking at more than 2,000 people have been deported. For the Western New York region, it's more than 1,000. So that's, we hear sometimes about
200,000 too little.
Population decreases here in Western New York. Now, I'm not saying this is the only factor for the population decreases by any means, but this is certainly a factor now whenever our leaders are talking about the population, and it's a shrinking population.
Finally, I have less than a minute left, but what about the reaction?
It's shrinking because of all the taxes they have to do to keep supporting all the illegals. It causes inflation to go way up.
On both sides to this, right? I know there are some people who are very unhappy.
And the cost of living for housing and stuff like that.
Happy with the numbers of deportations. And then there are other folks who say if you're in the country illegally, you should no longer be here.
Well, that's kind of the key question.
Did you see that, Kurt, they're trying to push through the Congress right now an amnesty bill. Amnesty bill. Okay, we'll keep the ones we have. We won't let any more in. Bull crap. Reagan did that. And look what happened about California. Come in right away. Yeah, I know.
Is what exactly counts as illegal?
Do they get kicked off of the social services, including Medicaid, Medicare, and so some are getting Social Security too?
Like we said, a majority of the people being arrested are asylum seekers. Now, if you have filed an application for asylum,
stay out of the country, apply, and then see if you get approved.
You are allowed to live and work in this country freely. You can get a job, you can rent an apartment, your kids can go to school. The Trump administration,
yeah, I know I'm being hard-nosed about it, but I'm sick of it,
is focusing largely on that group of people. These are not people who are quote-unquote in the country illegally. So you have a lot of people who say, why are we disrupting these people's lives? They have not had their case play out through the system. Maybe their case goes through and a judge rules, okay, you're not allowed to be here. You have to go back to where you came from. That happens in many cases. However, we're interrupting that system.
I'm sick of them handing out our money. It's bad enough with the Somalia stuff and all that, and the daycares and the hospice crap. All these on top of that?
Administration is, and those are the people who are being targeted. Of course, the other side of that are people who say, send them all home.
Yes,
there's a lot to this reporting, as you can imagine. You can go to investigativepost.org and see.
The guy with the mustache, he's a definite liberal. He's for it.
All of it. Dale, thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Boy, if I'd given in the report, it'd be a lot different, I tell you that.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm already activated, all right? I look confrontation on the road this morning. Wait till you see that video. It's going to be a cute one. And I wake up to all these news stories about, Americans burning the American flag in New York City, closing down bridges, cheering for Iran, protesting for Palestine, carrying Hezbollah and Hamas flags in America. I'm going to tell you this right now, okay? And I'm sure I speak for at least a small amount of people. If I encounter somebody and you're burning an American flag, we're going to roll. I don't care if you're 3 feet tall. I don't care if you're 30 feet tall. We're going to go. We're going to definitely go. Okay, don't do that shit. Not in my fucking country. You want to burn a flag? Go to fucking Iran. You want to back Iran? Go to fucking Iran. I'll buy you a ticket. Send me your information. Okay? You're blocking a road, a throughway where people are trying to get to work, pick up their children, perhaps an emergency vehicle's trying to get through.
Work to pay the taxes to give them free money.
You're going to see how much I don't know how to bake because I'm going to roll you like a fucking rolling pin, okay? A cookie. You're going to be a fucking chocolate chip cookie in the fucking Brooklyn Bridge, okay? Enough of this shit. You're You're out there protesting and you don't know what you're fucking talking about. What cracks me up is you're like, we're going to shut down the financial institutions. There will be no more funding. All right. And are you going to go work your little fucking job at McDonald's where your taxes are coming out of? Because you're still funding it, you fucking idiots. I am so fucking done. And the fact that this fucking administration and the people leading are like, oh, it's no big deal. No, this is a big fucking deal.
She's talking about Mandami.
Okay, we got people carrying Hezbollah flags, Hamas flags in our fucking country. They're standing next to me, they're standing next to you, and nobody's got the balls to do anything about it. Well, guess what? If you're not gonna do it, we're gonna have to fucking do it ourselves. I'm activated now. I'm really fucking activated.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all.
Right now, everyone is watching ships. They're watching the headlines. They're watching the statements coming out of Washington, Tehran, and Pakistan. And most people think that this is about a negotiation. There's a little bit of a negotiation, but that's not what this is about. This is a test of will, a test of endurance, a test of who understands the game and who does not. Because the question sitting underneath everything we're seeing right now is really very, very simple. Who will blink first? Will it be the regime in Tehran, or will it be President Trump, the president of the United States? Now, if you don't understand how Iran thinks, you can't understand this process or anything how it's working. This is not just about politics. It's not just about strategy. This goes back to two deep roots that we have to dive into: Persian statecraft and the doctrine of the Shiites. You put these two things together and they produce something very, very specific, something that has been sadly lost on the West for many, many years. Patience as a weapon. There's a Persian proverb: muddy the waters and you'll be able to catch the fish. Muddy the waters and the fish don't know where to go. They slow down and you can catch the fish you want. What does that mean? It means prolong the situation, obscure your intentions, exhaust your opponent. And then when they're tired, you take what you want. This is not just a metaphor. This is Iran's operational strategy. We're seeing it unfold right now. Iran does not negotiate to reach a deal. Iran negotiates to change the deal by outlasting you. Now,
I really agree with you, Tammy. It's going to take real uprising. First, we have to get the real leftists off. Then we got to get the rhinos out.
In order to run that strategy, the Iranian regime, the Iranian terror regime, needs two things. It needs to survive, and it needs leverage to use while it's surviving to wear down its...
To them, as long as they don't get thrown over by their people, the people throwing them out, getting rid of them, they see that as a win over there.
Opponent. If it loses,
they're starting to lose on the streets, though. They are. The problem is they brought in people from Afghanistan and Iraq and Pakistan a little bit. Not too many from Pakistan, but I'm sure there's crazies there too.
This is either one of those, their entire system that they're banking on collapses. So where is their leverage coming from? Iran's first lever is pretty simple. We've talked about it before. It's energy. You disrupt the Hormuz Straits, you disrupt shipping, oil prices spike, and everything becomes more expensive. And suddenly Europe, who has almost no skin in this game whatsoever up till now and is not...
And all they're doing is stalling on the negotiations and this and that.
Answer the demands by the United States. And there are examples of Spain and other countries which have even refused to allow the United States to open their space, is under pressure. Europe is under pressure. European markets are under pressure. European politicians are under pressure because the prices of our cups of coffee, the flat screen TVs, all the prices are going up. And most importantly, when you pull into the gas station to fill up your car, you can see as that little thing keeps ticking, wow, this tank's costing me a lot of money. And even though the United States is relatively insulated, meaning it gets its oil domestically, the shock to the system has driven up US oil prices as well. And that pressure flows back to Washington, back to the president of the United States. Now, here's the problem for Iran. Right now, President...
I seen this earlier today. A lot of our oil because they haven't allowed any refineries built in the United States since like early 70s because the environmentalists, we have to ship a lot of our oil out and then have it refined and come back because of all the regulations on the gas and the levels. Hey, John, the refineries, they have to go to a different level of refinery things so they can be burnt here in USA, especially in California and places like that. So we're not refining all our fuel. A lot of it's being refined overseas and then shipped back, and it causes money both ways.
Trump doesn't seem overly concerned because the United States, as we just said, is less exposed than Europe. And because he understands something very, very critical. Short-term pain can be tolerated. And in fact, it is being tolerated. The United States is functioning. However, long-term strategic loss cannot. Meaning if Iran...
How many in total voted? Was there any Republicans that voted for that? Wow.
...has nuclear capabilities and is threatening the Straits of Hormuz with nuclear capability, or Israel, or...
And they didn't do that during Biden, right?
Saudi Arabia, or the UAE, all of the United States allies, then that affects the United States. And if it has nuclear capabilities to secure the Straits of Hormuz, it means no matter what the situation, even if Iran and China decide to go after Taiwan and disrupt their industry, no one's going to be able to stop oil flowing from the Straits of Hormuz to power China's imperialist ambitions because they have a nuclear weapon. And that could drive right back home to Washington, D.C.
Well, that's good, Pat.
Iran's second lever is time. And they're looking at the calendar. They're looking at the U.S. political system.
50 of them,
and they're asking, can we drag this out until Trump is under pressure from his own party? The midterms. That's their bet. Now, Trump may be thinking two things. Either Congress is gridlocked anyway, so I might as well act now, and it's probably not...
I'm surprised that was allowed to be brought up for a vote in the House.
Going to change that much. Without a Congress that's functional, I'm going to be relying mostly on foreign policy, which is in my own hands. Or he might be going all in to try to secure a decisive outcome and define the political landscape in the future. But Iran is betting on time. They always bet on time. Now, the third lever that Iran...
That's why they're stalling.
...may be betting on, and I think that this is weaker, and I'm not sure that they're betting on it, but they may be, is China. Iran would love to turn Hormuz into a confrontation between the United States and China. But here's where the U.S. has turned the tables, and this is critical to understand. The Straits of Hormuz, they're not closed to all shipping. It is not closed. Ships are able to move through the Straits of Hormuz. In fact, the United States has guaranteed ships will be able to move through, assuming we can clear out all of those mines, which we will over the next few days, and oil can continue to flow. There's only one restriction.
There's a lot of tankers going through now, just not Iranian tankers. And I'm talking to people in Iran, and it's totally having some good effect there. Good effect. The regime is really, now they want negotiations real bad.
A ship cannot load oil.
But they can't fund bringing all the outside people to keep keep them all in line. If they don't have all the other ones from Iraq and Afghanistan, and a few from Pakistan in there with the guns to keep them in line, because they'll probably get overthrown.
From Iranian ports. That's it. So what does that mean? A Chinese tanker can take oil from the UAE. It can take oil from Saudi Arabia. It can take oil from anywhere else in the Gulf. It just can't take oil from Iran. Now, that's the brilliance of the strategy, because China is still functioning, even though the Straits of Hormuz is closed to Iranian shipping, meaning China's able to survive. Not great, but they're able to survive. The United States has taken Iran's greatest weapon, and it's turned it into a wedge between Iran and China, because now China's getting its oil, and the global system's functioning.
The other thing, they were getting the oil from China, from Iran, a lot cheaper. So they were able to undercut a lot of American businesses on a lot of stuff, way undercut.
And Iran is the one being isolated. Now think about the alternative. If Iran closes the Straits of Iran completely, and they threaten all shipping, they don't hurt America first. They don't even hit Europe first. They hurt China. 70% of China's oil comes from the Middle East and the Gulf. And now China has a choice. It's either going to pressure Iran to back down, or it's going to turn to the United States to reopen the route. That's the trap. The US has managed to flip this so that if Iran stops shipping through the straits and China can no longer get any oil from the Gulf countries, China will have to pressure Iran to open the straits. Now, let me explain something.
It is open now, except for rain things. Although this was made 2 days ago.
That most people don't understand, and I didn't understand it before looking into this clearly either. Oil wells are not faucets. You can't just turn them on and off like the faucet in your sink. Once an oil well is operational, it just keeps flowing. In order to stop production of an oil well...
Oh, I got you. It's with a Y. China. Okay. I got you, Pat. Took me a minute.
And cap it. The pressure to the oil well drops. Fluids build up in that well. The infrastructure degrades. Sometimes you can restart that well, but sometimes you can't even restart that well. No matter what you do, you'll never get the same output. We saw this in the United States, in Texas, and in North Dakota. During the 2020 crash, thousands of wells were shut in. Some of them came back weaker, but many of them never came back at all because they were no longer viable. Now apply that to Iran. If you block their exports, the storage of oil fills up, production stops, wells shut down. And now you're not just hitting today's Iranian economy, you're destroying Iran's future capacity as an oil provider. This is long-term damage. This is not a sanction. This is economic suffocation of the Iranian terror regime over time. And while all this is happening...
Pat, are you saying that all the goods will be coming from China? Is that what you're saying? Lots of money? Saving lots of money? I hear that they're going to... he's going to start forcing businesses there to turn off all their electricity and lights, outside lighting, and all this and that at 10 or 11 o'clock at night for overnight, and stuff like that. He's going to force them to.
Well, all of this suffocation is taking place right now because Iran cannot get rid of its oil, and its storehouses are overflowing.
Well, according to
the negotiations are ongoing. To understand more about this, by the way, the oil production, if you...
Well, go ahead and put it in chat. What you think, Pat?
Speak Hebrew and you are able to listen in Hebrew, there's a brilliant podcast that goes in depth by Nitzan David Fuchs, which is called the Mishak HaGadol, the big game.
I don't know.
So what do we see as unfolding in front of us? More assets from the United States are moving into the region. Carrier groups like the Bush Carrier Group,
according to him,
amphibious
liar,
forces, and massive logistical buildup is continuing into the Middle East. This is not static. This is two tracks that are happening at the same time. Diplomacy and force, and they're running at the exact same time. In fact, there are numerous reports that there are hundreds of flights taking place over Iranian airspace, most likely looking for what a ground invasion will face, because if a ground invasion was to take place, there will be massive aerial support before U.S. troops hit that soil.
That's not
so
going to happen.
all this is taking place.
That's not going to happen.
One hand is towards negotiation, and the other hand is building up force in case that negotiation does not give what the United States and Israel are both insisting on to this day, which is zero enrichment and the absolute dismantling of Iran's nuclear program, which up till now Iran is refusing to do. Now, let's talk about Pakistan. The talks...
I wouldn't believe any thing they sign. I wouldn't trust the ones in power right now.
They're supposed to resume, maybe in Islamabad, maybe somewhere else. But even Trump is keeping the situation fluid, and that tells us something. The channel to negotiation is open, but as I mentioned,
I think you could keep the pressure on.
He's building up his forces, which shows that nothing is settled. All of those who are saying that the sky is falling down and claiming that the United States is backing off, and they keep saying that no matter what the United States does, it's the the work of the New York Times and CNN and Haaretz in Israel to constantly try to project weakness. He's backing down. He didn't get what he wanted. It's a failure. It's not true. It's been a huge success. And he hasn't backed down. What is the United States demanding? It's not looking for a small
I wouldn't trust them on any deal they sign at all. They always lie.
deal.
In fact, it's in the Quran they can lie.
We heard just yesterday, Marco Rubio and Vice President Vance say he's not even looking for a partial deal. He is looking for a big deal, a complete dismantling, and the enrichment, remove the enriched uranium, and in return, a grand bargain. Economic integration for a new Iran, prosperity for a new Iran, and a pathway back into the world. That's the offer. But here's the problem. For Iran giving up their enriched uranium, it means giving up their leverage. And if they lose the leverage, they lose their ability to survive in the long run. So going back to their proverb, they're stalling.
Whose speech? Man?
They're dragging. They're trying to muddy the waters because that's what they do. And inside Iran, what is the regime doing inside Iran? The regime is doing something very specific. It knows it cannot hurt Israel. It cannot hurt the United States. The one thing it can do is to convince its people that have a complete media blackout that the regime is still strong. They don't see what you and I see. They're not watching this podcast. They don't have access.
Oh, you wouldn't believe what's on their TV over there.
Access to the media. They're flooded with propaganda day in and day out. They're being told that the regime is winning. And, you know, we've seen this before because during the previous operation in June, they said the same thing to their people. And it took months for reality to catch up to the Iranian people.
Isn't there one also where he's singing stuff? He did something where he was singing his speech or something. It's real ridiculous.
In fact, it took 6 months between the end of the successful campaign in June until the Iranian people took to the streets in January, because it took them time to understand that the regime had been severely weakened. Look what's happening now. When close to 10,000 IRGC fighters, it seems, have been eliminated. Their storehouses are eliminated. Their ballistic missile building and manufacturing capacity has been eliminated. So we come back to the
China's been shipping them in.
The main question. Who blinks first? Does Iran come to the table and give in? I think it's highly, highly unlikely because their strategy is survival. Or does
surviving is for them to stall?
President Trump push this further? If this escalates, there are options. Continue choking the economy, maintain pressure through Hormuz, seize their strategic assets like Karj and like the other assets we spoke about in previous weeks, and increase the internal pressure on the regime by making sure that those people get access to news. This is not theoretical. This is what is being prepared right now. And here is what all this boils down to. You can't get them out of
there for a long time.
If Iran blinks first, Trump gets a historic win. If Trump blinks first and Iran keeps its enriched uranium, this will have been an important war and set back Iran, but it's not going to be a historic win. And that will also mean that that regime survives, the threat remains, and they keep their leverage. And no matter how it's going to be spun, this is not a full victory. Now, I want to say something important, I think, for many of us. This week, on Holocaust Remembrance Day, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke to people who were living in exile. He made a claim. He's trying to reframe everything. He tried shifting the conversation from Iran's nuclear program to the fact that Israel may, according
I don't care,
but there are against Iran. And that matters because the facts matter. And we can look at Israel's enemy.
I don't care about Israel that much. Marginally.
So yesterday at Swink Elementary School, which is located in Klein, Texas, and a part of Klein ISD, a Muslim man snuck into this elementary school wearing tactical gear and also armed. Now, thankfully, the school security did catch him before he could harm anybody, but I found it quite funny that when you go to look up this incident, they are calling him Kyle Chris. But do you want to know what his real name is? Now, forgive me for how this is about to sound, but his real name is Muhi Mohanad Najam, and he's a 39-year-old Muslim man who also lives in Klein, Texas. Now, some articles that you do go read, you'll see that they included his middle name, but some just leave it out, therefore implying that his name is just Kyle Chris. which, yes, will get lost in translation because most people will claim that this is a white man. But does this look like a white man to you? Does this look like a man named Kyle to you? I also want to point out the fact that the last 2 terrorist attacks that have occurred in Michigan and
you can't count on the media or even our government.
Virginia, both of the terrorists were also named Muhammad. Why are they all named after the pedophile that they worship? Anyways, I think they're trying to hide this story because nobody wants to admit that this Muslim man snuck into an elementary school and could have honestly hurt a lot of children that day if the school security had not stopped him. But don't be shocked because this is just one of many, and it's only been like 3 weeks and we've had a handful of terrorist attacks since the Iranian war started, and I can guarantee there's going to be a handful of more. So if you're out in public, keep your head on a swivel, carry if you can, and just keep your eyes out for people like this.
Amen.
Let me answer something here that is probably the number one question that I get all the time whenever we're talking about the war in Iran. Why is it, if we're energy independent, is gas going up? Why are we paying that? And this is something that is, the answer is going to kind of, you'll feel better, but
Pat, maybe you'll agree with this one.
Also be a little, you'll understand it more on why we have to break the back of this progressive agenda. So I remember when I was young, 1980s, gas was probably $1.80 or something. And I moved to Texas, and I saw gas there. It was like 90 cents. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am never moving from Texas. Okay. Same country, same oil, same ground. How could it be like $1 cheaper? Okay. If you're like most people and you've ever lived in Texas when it was like that, that memory sticks. Now, part of it is because California,
global price.
They just jack up the prices with restrictions, and they also add a lot of tax to it. And it feels like there's proof that something is wrong here. But
a lot of it has to do with the refining too, how much it costs to transport it back and forth and refining it, and that's part of it.
Let me explain. We have all of this oil. That's
part of the reason why Colorado's so low, because the refinery's right there.
We've had in decades. So why does it feel like we're paying more? Let me walk you through this in a way that I think it could maybe click for you. I want you to think of oil, not as oil, but think of it as cattle, not hamburgers, cattle. Because what comes out of the ground is not gasoline, it's crude oil. It's thick, it's messy, it's different qualities depending on where you drill for it. And you don't drive your car on any of that stuff, okay? Just like you don't sit down and eat a cow in the field. It has to be processed, refined, turned into gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel, or whatever. Here's where it breaks from common sense. Just because you have a lot of cattle in your state doesn't mean you have enough slaughterhouses. And even if you do, they may be built for a different kind of animal. And this is what's happening with oil. The United States produces a ton of oil, record levels, and it's only going to get bigger.
Second highest state.
But a huge portion of that oil, especially from places like Texas, is what's called light sweet.
We're paying about $4.29 for gas here right now, but our gas tax is very high, and it costs a lot to get it here and that too.
Wheat crude. It's really super easy to refine, but
Jacqueline,
only if your refineries are built for that. Our refineries aren't built for that. We built refineries back in the 60s and 70s, and we built them to handle the heavier, dirtier crude, the kind that comes from Venezuela or the Middle East. So what do? Well, if we can't refine this, we have to then import the kind that our system is designed to handle. So we sell the light sweet stuff overseas, and then we have to import this stuff. So even before you get to price, you're already in the global game. Your oil isn't your oil anymore. It's a worldwide swap meet. Then you have to layer on transportation.
See what I mean? You can't get a refinery built in America anymore because of the goddamn environmentalists. The regulations, you can refine the stuff, but you have to have a newer refinery to make it to the levels that like California and that want you to have.
Saw those cheap prices in Texas. I was close to the source.
So you got to ship it way out of America, way overseas, get it refined, then ship it all the way back, costing us all money.
fewer pipelines, shorter trips. It costs less to
That's okay,
move
man.
it. Okay. But if you're in the Northeast or parts of the West Coast, that oil, might have to travel halfway across the country or come in from halfway across the world on a ship. And then the pipelines in America are not easy to build anymore. Every delay, every legal fight, every mile not built adds cost to that. So now we have oil moving in circles. We're exporting stuff that we can't refine because we didn't build the refineries. We have to import, ship, refine, and then distribute. Each step takes a bite. And then you hit the real driver that most
all that transporting is really costs a lot.
People don't see. The price of oil is not set here. The price of oil is globally. It's globally set. So it doesn't matter if your neighbor struck oil in their backyard. It doesn't matter. The price you pay is tied to what somebody in Europe or China or India is willing to pay for the same barrel because everybody's competing for it. It's like living next to a wheat farm during a global food shortage. And you're like, wait, I don't have bread, but all that wheat's right there. Yes. They don't sell that wheat to you for less because you're close. He sells whoever will pay the market price, and the price moves on fear, war rumors, shipping lanes under threat, OPEC decisions. Even the expectation of a problem can push prices up before anything actually even happens. So you're not just paying for oil, you're paying for uncertainty. And then there's the refining capacity. You know that we haven't built a new refinery in decades? Not at scale. Regulations, cost, politics, take your pick. So when demand goes up or when a refinery goes down for maintenance or a storm, there is no cushion. We haven't built a new refinery since the 1970s. That's like having plenty of cattle, but there are no knives, no place to turn it into food. The bottleneck isn't the supply, it's the ability to process it. And bottlenecks, like you're seeing in the Strait of Hormuz, that's what spikes prices. And don't get me started on why we just don't build more refineries here in America. I mean, it makes total sense, doesn't it? Well, we should just build more refineries that process the kind of oil that we have here. Nope. It will never happen. I did about 3 hours of research on this yesterday. It will never happen. And don't even get me started because it will blow your mind. It will make you so mad at the process. It takes 30 years.
Explosions where? In refineries? Oh, refineries. Oh, okay. Wow. Is someone sabotaging them?
To pay for one of those things. No one's going to build it because no one believes the policy today, whether it is for global warming or against global warming, nobody believes it's going to last 30 years. And so they won't build it because they'll never get their money out of it. They believe it'll become like California. So you can't build them. So we're going to have to continue to sell our oil overseas because we can't refine it. So we have to sell that overseas where they will build those refineries. And then we have to buy their oil and use our refineries, which were built in the 1970s. It's insane.
No,
so when you say, why are we paying more? That's why.
I didn't know soybean.
America, we can't use our own oil.
It does.
Because the system isn't local anymore, and it hasn't been for a very long time. We're sitting on massive resources. Yeah, that part is absolutely true. But the path from the ground to your gas tank runs through a global marketplace, aging infrastructure, regulatory choke points, and a pricing system driven by the headlines more than supply. So it's not one thing, it's many, many layers. Like that nice, simple idea, we have oil, so it should be cheap. Wrapped in a system that gets more complicated every single decade. And what are you going to do about it? Somewhere along the way, we stopped building the kind of system that would actually let that simple idea be true again. So you want to solve this.
On X? Okay, I'll take a peek at it in a minute.
This is the big thing that I really worry about.
I have to open up an extra tab. Let me see if I can.
And I think you worry about. It's the biggest problem with Trump only having one term left in 2 more years. and him not possibly having a replacement that thinks like him, or is on the same page. What's going to happen? Because government hasn't actually codified anything. There's been no bills that have passed. Oh yeah, we did that one big beautiful bill. One in 2 years. Can you give us another one? What do you say? Because they haven't codified anything. The next administration can come in and undo all of this, and we're right back to where we started. That's why you're paying for more for gas. That's why.
Japan stock
because
market?
We can't do the right thing because it's too expensive and nobody believes we're going to be consistent.
Last 45
nobody
days,
believes it. We have all the oil in the world.
I'll play it in a little
we
bit.
are going to be the major supplier, which will be good for us. In the end, China is going to begin buying their oil. You see, there's a story from Canada this week. I read this yesterday that said from Canada in the Canadian press that's saying, Canada, we better wake up. Our one thing that we had going, for us in our favor as a tool against America is that we had so much oil. Have you noticed the world is coming to them, not us? We better wake up. I saw another story from England that said we are toast. We are toast because we have alienated ourselves from reality, and we have no energy. We have no industry. We have nothing. And where are we going to get that oil? We're going to have to get that oil from the United States of America. So this is America first, but not at the gas pump.
Yep, well said. All right, I want to reply to someone on another platform. No one's watching here. Let me see if I can do this. So I have been talking to people in Iran and stuff like that. And the way you do it is, kind of. This is a way I'm not promoting this, but there's this program out there you can get that's called Conduit. There's a couple different brands of it, but this is one of them. And then what it is you put it up there and you'll give them a link so that they can share your internet. So say someone in Iran wants to get on the internet. I'm not promoting this. You have to have a VPN for sure. All right. But then they can use your internet through the they turn off their Wi-Fi, and then they go up to Skylink, and then they use this conduit if you've got unlimited data. All right, so I'm answering someone else on another platform here. So use something like this conduit, and then they can use your data if you got unlimited data, right? And then they use something like Cipher. Is that what the right name? Am I saying the right word? Surfing. And on their end, on their end, they would use Surfing on their end, and they would tie into your conduit, and then they can get stuff in and out. It's slow, and there's low data, but you would use something called conduit. And I'm not recommending it for everybody. You got to be pretty computer savvy to do this, and unlimited data and all this and that. But that's how you communicate with someone there, and then they can get some small short videos out and stuff like that. But this is how it's done to get around, because right now Iran is having internet, but it's Iran only. It doesn't go outside of that. So you got to turn your stuff out from the outside and stuff like that. That's what you got to do, turn it off on the outside. Let me see if I got another link for this. Here's another conduit one here called conduit. It's spelled just like the same way as you would for the conduit for doing electrical as well. But definitely a VPN. Know the person that you're allowing to use it for you. You got to know them ahead of time and all that. So I'm just saying, All right, I'm going to bring up that link that John just sent me. Hold on. Let me find it again here. Oh, I think I put it over here. Here it is. It's on X. All right, let me drag this over, and I'll enlarge this. I think you wanted me to show the, in the last 45 days, I don't know if I can blow this up so anyone can see it, though. A little bit. These are all the fires in the last 45 days, huh? Are these any of these? Oh, that's one's Australia. Okay, India, Mexico. I wonder if some of that's normal and how much of it. All these USA ones, though, we got more regulations than anywhere for not allowing that to happen. How major of fires are these? Probably driving up the oil prices. All right, you want me to show this video, right, John?
Or talent for ignoring warning signs when the alternative is inconvenient. And this was one of the better examples.
This one's from John.
The first crisis was really just the warm-up act. The main event came in 1979. The second oil crisis is the one that most people remember, even though, in absolute terms, oil prices merely doubled compared to the near tripling from the first crisis. This time, the trigger wasn't an isolated and largely ineffective embargo. It was a revolution.
They couldn't, like, reset it? Like, if you get a new IP or something like that, John, did that work?
The Iranian Revolution of 1979 ousted the Shah of Iran, a Western-backed authoritarian who had been keeping the country stable for decades, depending on your definition, and replaced him with the theocratic government that has ruled the country ever since. Now, the Shah's Iran had been one of the West's closest allies in the Middle East. America in particular had invested heavily in propping up his regime, providing military equipment, intelligence support, and diplomatic cover in exchange for reliable oil exports and a strategically positioned ally in the region. The problem was that a lot of ordinary Iranians absolutely despised the Shah. His secret police, known as Savak, were notorious for their brutality. Wealth inequality in the country was staggering, and the rapid westernization that the Shah had pushed was deeply unpopular with a large portion of the population. So when the revolution came, it came hard.
Yeah, it was the Muslims and the socialists, and a lot of these younger ones were socialists because of the economics at the time. And President Carter really upped it up.
Millions of people took to the streets. The Shah's military, one of the largest and most well-equipped in the region.
Yeah, and he was pretty ruthless. And part of that was some of his neighbors, like Pakistan and Afghanistan, were pretty bad. And then you got Saddam on the other side of him.
Thanks largely to American arms sales, initially tried to suppress the protests, but the scale of public anger was simply too great. By January of 1979, the Shah had fled the country and Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to establish the Islamic Republic. The speed of the collapse shocked Western intelligence agencies. The CIA had reportedly been telling the White House just months earlier that Iran was stable.
I bet you the CIA had a lot to do with it, if you ask me.
It was one of the most consequential intelligence failures of the Cold War. But the revolution didn't just oust the Shah, it also created one of the most dramatic diplomatic ruptures in modern history. 52 American embassy staff were taken hostage and held for 444 days, becoming a constant reminder of the broken relationship between the United States and the new Iranian government. This hostage crisis consumed American attention, poisoned any chance of diplomatic negotiation over the oil situation, and made it essentially impossible to work towards any kind of peaceful resolution to the chaos engulfing the region. Iran at this time wasn't just any oil-producing country. It was one of the biggest exporters in the world, and its oil infrastructure was almost entirely managed through the National Iranian Oil Company, a state-owned enterprise that was itself the successor to the Western-owned Anglo-Persian Oil Company. Now, despite being a national oil company, NIOC was still largely managed by a consortium of for-profit oil companies back in the West at the time. Western engineers, Western managers, Western expertise running Iranian wells. This was a pretty common arrangement across the Middle East, and it tells you something important about how these relationships actually worked. The countries owned the oil on paper, but the knowledge of how to get it out of the ground efficiently was kept firmly in Western hands. So when the revolution happened, the new government nationalized the facilities and expelled the Western personnel working on them. Without this expertise, Iran struggled to maintain consistent production quality and outputs. Wells that had been running smoothly under foreign management were suddenly being operated by people who hadn't been trusted with the knowledge of how to do it properly, which is itself a pretty damning indictment of how colonial resource extraction tends to leave countries worse off even after they take back control of their own resources. And it wasn't just a management problem. No major international oil company was exactly lining up to do business with the same government that had just seized their infrastructure. Iran went from being one of the most integrated oil producers in the global market to being essentially cut off from it overnight. But
and now they've spent all their money on trying to kill us, and put very little money into upgrading it and maintaining it.
Disruption didn't stop there.
So it's in bad
In
shape
September of
now.
1980, Iraq invaded Iran, kicking off the Iran-Iraq War, a brutal 8-year conflict that further devastated oil infrastructure across the region. Between the two countries, millions of barrels of daily production capacity were taken offline as refineries were bombed, pipelines were destroyed, and shipping routes through the Persian Gulf became active war zones. The Iran-Iraq War is one of the deadliest conflicts since World War II, with estimates of over 1 million casualties combined. It gets remarkably little attention in the West relative to its scale, which probably tells you something about which wars we consider worth remembering. But what many people don't realize is that the war also involved a phase known as the Tanker War, where both Iran and Iraq targeted oil tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz. Commercial vessels carrying oil from other producers in the Gulf found themselves in the middle of a military conflict, with both sides attacking shipping indiscriminately. This made the Strait of Hormuz one of the most dangerous shipping routes in the world, and everyone transporting oil through it had to pay a war risk insurance premium on top of already elevated oil prices. Every barrel of oil that passed through that choke point was now carrying the literal cost of warfare built into its price. A fun little historical footnote in all of this: both the National Iranian Oil Company and the Anglo-Persian Oil Company are still around today. NIOC is still officially Iran's state oil company despite the rather dramatic shakeup in 1979. And the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, well, it changed its name a few times over the years, first to the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, then to British Petroleum, or, as we know it today, BP. So the next time you fill up at a BP station, just know that the company's origin story involves a lot more geopolitics than you might expect from a place that sells overpriced snacks and car washes. What was about to unfold in the Middle East would see Americans queuing for hours just to fill their tanks, Western governments scrambling to ration fuel, and an inflationary spiral so severe that it would eventually take the most...
Is everyone old enough to remember during Carter there, the odd and even days in terms of being able to get gas by your license plate and stuff like that?
...most aggressive monetary intervention in modern history to bring it under control. And by the time the dust settled, the entire political and economic landscape of the Western world had been permanently redrawn. And that's almost comically frustrating, because despite all of this chaos, the revolution, the war, the nationalization, the expelled engineers, global oil supplies did not actually
you remember
fall
them,
that
huh, Kurt?
much. By most estimates, the
Giving
total
away our
reduction
age.
in worldwide oil production was less than 4%. Other oil-producing countries simply ramped up their own output to take advantage of the higher prices. That's the thing about commodities. When prices go up, everybody with supply rushes to cash in. But it didn't matter. What followed was one of the most spectacular examples of collective panic in modern economic history. Everybody from panicked motorists to major industrial companies to speculative traders bought up whatever oil they could get their hands on in anticipation of supply constraints and price increases that in many cases never actually materialized to the degree that people feared. Ironically, it was this panic buying that actually limited supply and drove prices through the roof. The crisis wasn't caused by a shortage of oil. It was caused by a shortage of confidence. In the United States, this played out in the most visible way possible. Lines at petrol stations stretched for blocks. Some stations ran out entirely and just closed. In states across the country, governments introduced odd-even rationing, meaning you could only fill up on certain days depending on whether your license plate ended in an odd number or an even number. There were fistfights at pumps. People started carrying siphon hoses in their cars. Petrol theft became so common that locking gas caps became a standard feature on new vehicles. In some cities, the National Guard was deployed to maintain order at filling stations. Gas station attendants started working behind the locked doors.
55-gallon.
The price of oil had become a national security issue, playing out at the neighborhood level. News broadcasts every evening led with the price of oil in the same...
I can remember gas stations having signs up saying out of gas. They'd run out of fuel.
Same way they lead with the stock market today. It became the single metric that defined whether the country was doing well or doing badly. And for months, it was doing very badly indeed. And if that sounds dramatic for a 4% supply reduction, that's exactly the point. President Carter appeared on television urging Americans to turn their home thermostats down to 65 degrees Fahrenheit to conserve energy. Highway speed limits were enforced with unusual strictness, and traffic enforcement actually became a tool of energy policy. In some cities, petrol stations opened at 5 in the morning only to find queues of 200 plus cars, with the station's entire daily allocation sold out by 7 a.m. People were waiting 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours in line just to fill a tank. And that was if they were lucky enough to be there on the day when their license plate number was allowed to buy. But even if the underlying supply disruption was relatively modest, the damage it caused was very real. Oil at this time wasn't just an important commodity, it was the commodity. It literally fueled every part of the economy, and this was especially true in the late 1970s.
We've left ourselves too dependent on the Middle East for fuel.
When heavy industry still dominated in a way that it simply doesn't anymore. So when the price of oil doubled, the price of basically everything else went up with it. Fuel for trucks meant more expensive deliveries. Oil
Well, everything you get transported costs more money.
for factories meant more expensive goods.
Gregory could
Petrochemicals for plastics
testify
and
to that.
fertilizers meant higher costs across industries that most people don't even think about when they think about oil. And if that sounds familiar, it should. We've seen this exact same dynamic play out with everything from toilet paper to semiconductor chips in recent memory. Human nature doesn't change. It just finds new things to hoard and new supply chains to panic about.
Yep. I've been watching some stuff in the past recently on static electricity as the new energy. To be able to get that out of the air, basically, lightning, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of static electricity that they could harness to power a lot of stuff, not necessarily your car, but a lot of the other stuff that we use, like electricity in the house and stuff.
ببین یه ویدیو دیدم.
Thank you for that, John.
این ویدیو رو بعد مجبور شدم 3 بار ببینم. بعد کپشن خوندم نفهمیدم. تیترشو خوندم نفهمیدم یعنی چی. تا الان نمیدونستم که بتونن غسلش بدن.
I thought she was going to do this in English.
ناخناشو نکشن.
Okay, I thought this was English. Sorry, everyone.
Why aren't we taught that there's only a federal income tax because the progressive movement received backing from the Rockefeller family? You see, there was no federal income tax from 1776 to 1861. Then there was the Civil War, but from 1873 to 1894, there was once again no federal income tax. And that's when the progressive movement got involved. They wanted to establish a federal income tax so that they could tax the rich. And they got what they wanted. From 1894 to 1895, there was a federal income tax until the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional in Pollock v. Farmers. So this and this were unconstitutional. After Pollock v. Farmers, there was no federal income tax from 1896.
What the rich like to do, especially some of these businesses, is they'll get the tax rate really high. Then they'll buy all these loopholes so that they can beat their competition on in selling and their businesses better because they've got the loopholes and the other companies don't have them. That's why they like the Democrats, because they like the high tax rates with the loopholes.
To 1913. So the question is, what happened that got us to the 16th Amendment? What happened between this time? For most of American history, the federal government collected revenue through tariffs and excise taxes. These are taxes on undesirable behavior like alcohol consumption. And tariffs would give the government revenue and protect American manufacturing. Well, the progressives came along and they said that under the tariff system, the rich are not paying their fair share and it doesn't allow foreign competition to lower prices. They argued that the federal income tax would solve this problem by allowing them to tax the rich and competition to drop.
Problem is they bring it in like 1 or 2%. Then after they get it in place, they keep raising the damn thing. It never goes down.
Drive down the price of goods with no consideration as to what that would do to manufacturing jobs. Well, do you know who it was that would propose the 16th Amendment? Senator Nelson Aldrich. And why is that relevant, you ask? Because his daughter married John D. Rockefeller Jr., the same Nelson Aldrich who was the architect of the Federal Reserve Act.
85
So the
miles per hour.
progressives
Wow,
basically
that's
handed
high.
the most powerful capitalist in the world a monopoly over the printing of the dollar and the ability to reach into our pockets and tax us. But of course, at the time, the propaganda was, don't worry, it will only be a tax on the rich. And this is why I write books to teach our kids about the money system and about how information is controlled and how propaganda works. Because these guys had it right. We had it where there were basically no taxes, where the government couldn't tax us, and just a little bit of propaganda, and we just gave it away. But it hasn't always been
Class warfare is what they play.
this way. It doesn't have to always be this way. And the younger generations are waking up in droves. And it's our job to make sure that that continues. Check out my private homeschool community. And Cubs to Bears books. ClassicalLearner.com.
Yep. All right, this is about what they're trying to do out in California to stop people like Nick Shirley.
In this building, right behind me, they just...
Or all people, really.
...passed a bill that would practically outlaw Nick Shirley-style journalism by creating a chilling effect on people like him when they go expose fake hospice and daycare centers that use ghost or just non-existent clients. So here's the reality about this. If Nick Shirley were to go and record an employee or an owner of one of these fake operations under this bill that they just passed, he would be liable for a minimum of $4,000 in fines. Plus, he would face a 4-year injunction where he would not be allowed to record this person, whether it's the owner or an employee who is a fraudster, because they don't want to be included on camera. And then on top of that, the fines could multiply up to 3 times that if he refuses to take down the video. This is his First Amendment right, by the way. This is our First Amendment right to cover these issues, and they want to take that away from us. Now, if they can try to get him on fake doxing charges or fake he threatened somebody charges or fake he enabled a third party to put somebody else's life in danger kind of a thing, well, then he could get criminal charges, right? And a $10,000 fine. So in Gavin Newsom's California, if you attempt to expose a fraudster as a legitimate independent journalist, there is no carve-out for you in this kind of a bill. And the reason is because they want to put you in jail. They want to throw you in jail. If they could, they would love to see you in jail. They would love to see you destitute, financially broke, bankrupt, because you're doing the citizens a favor by showing them the fraudulent and unethical places that their money is going. That's the bottom line. So next time you come across a immigrant services center, which is what this bill broadly defines, or if you're doing a video of it, which this bill broadly defines as harassment, you might find yourself in trouble.
Yep. It's about
The
Stalwart.
fact that he has now dropped out of the governor's race and resigned from Congress, is that justice in your view?
No, it's just the beginning. It's just the very beginning. And I know personally that we're not walking away from this fight.
For me, justice won't be until he can't
A lot of them are very skinny.
ever harm a woman ever again. And he has faced the consequences for the women that he has harmed.
I think in regards to the governor's race, he never should have ran for governor to begin with, knowing the kind of history and receipts that are out there. So that's a non-starter. And then in terms of Congress, I think he absolutely should have resigned. I think we just prevented another 30 to 40 years potentially of him harming people if he were to stay in Congress.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think we have served justice for his future victims.
Wow.
That won't exist anymore.
Yep. Here's some more on this stuff.
So Eric Swalwell was allowed to work the way that
That's Nancy Mace right there.
he did. He behaved the way that he did because of this slush fund. Can you explain this slush fund? You've done a lot of work on this to try and expose it. How does it operate? And I think many Americans would be quite shocked to learn that they're paying for Eric Swalwell to do.
A lot of people don't live in the north. You use kitty litter also for traction. Like say if you're getting stuck, you can pour kitty litter underneath the tires and it gives you some traction on the ice and stuff.
Yes, up until 2018, there was a slush fund that taxpayers paid for that could settle disputes and harassment, sexual harassment by members of Congress and their employees or other Hill staffers, for example. And it's been hidden from the public. I've subpoenaed for those records. I have not gotten them yet, but I subpoenaed them through the Oversight Committee. As you know, I tried to do that resolution a few weeks ago, and that failed on the House floor. And so now what will happen is before that information is public,
they always protect their own, don't they?
You'll often see a member of Congress resign. But we need to shine light on this to see who's paid out money and protect the victims at the same time, which is what I've done in my subpoena and in my resolution. I protected the personally identifying information of the victims, which every member of Congress that voted against me lied. Every Republican and every Democrat that voted against my measure to expose all of this lied. But as a survivor myself, I've always protected other survivors, and I want that information out there.
Yeah, we used to use it for floor dry. My dad had a garage. Exactly what we used it for as well.
About who's used the slush fund, how much money was paid out, and which member of Congress was guilty. You deserve to know. It's your money.
Yeah, and everyone voted against you.
Yeah, 357 members, Republicans and Democrats alike. And then they lied about why they voted against it because they couldn't go home to their districts, right? And these are some of the same people that are screaming up.
Well, in Virginia, she's trying to take away their rights to own a gun, but then they put a loophole in there. So if you're a congressperson, you can own a gun, but not a normal citizen. Only Congress people.
And right. They're just a bunch of damn hypocrites is what they are.
Yeah, that's right. They all voted to put Bill Clinton back in the White House, right? It's like,
right.
Like we were all fully aware of Bill Clinton and what he does, and the 70 million Democrats voted to put Bill Clinton back in the White House.
This isn't new, but the populist politics that we have today, the people can make a difference. So if they rise up on social media, they put that pressure on that member of Congress or on the speaker or on the minority leader, like this is making a difference. And we need people to chime in the next 24 hours before these resolutions are filed and put pressure on Congress to do the right thing. Don't let these people come home from Washington not embarrassed. If we don't do the right thing this week, they should be shamed when they get back home to their districts. And I don't care what their political affiliation is. They need to do the right thing, or they need to be shamed out of civil society and out of office, quite frankly.
Yeah, Pat, I think the founding fathers had a lot of stuff pretty right. They were pretty grounded. I think they were pretty smart. If you ask me, the founding fathers, a lot of the stuff that they tried to put in place and didn't place then, it's a good basis for us. It's all the stuff they're trying to change and ruin now that's bad.
Congresswoman, are there more Eric Swalwells in
100%.
Congress?
Yes, there are.
You know these things, right? Like you hear this stuff. Apparently everyone was whispering about Swalwell for ages. We heard, it was like a not well kept secret.
I've heard stories about many members, and they're hard to fathom. And honestly, like when I started to hear stories last year, I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that this kind of thing is going on. And then all of a sudden, we start to see evidence, stories start to hit the papers, text messages, pictures, videos, all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh. Not that I'm naive to it. I'm very attuned to predators, but it's just like these people are elected. They have hundreds of thousands of people that instill their trust in them. They represent you in Congress, and this is their behavior in their off time. Like I
don't know what's
perplexed by it. I'm baffled by it. But it's just more convincing that that people are addicted to power, and they're addicted to money, and they're addicted to an abuse of power. And like I'm someone like I don't trade stocks because I am one of the poorest members of Congress. I'm not making money off of anything. I live in my office. I have very high ethical standards, and if you don't meet those Pat,
I think that's a scare tactic.
Ethical standards in my office, you're out. Like I have, very high standards because people have entrusted me with the job. And so when I see these things happening, I'm like, I can't even. I'm stunned and I'm shocked at the stupidity of these people, and they got to go.
Yeah. Okay. So that's, refreshing at least to hear that at least Congress will unite in order to kick
But we need pressure from the people, Benny. We need you. We need all the influencers. We need every voter that's out there pressuring Republicans and Democrats alike on social media, get on their Facebook and on their X and just hammer it home that this needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. Like, the days are over where you can get away with anything. We want to show that there's not a two-tiered system of justice, that there's not one for the powerful and one for the people. It all needs to be the same system of justice for everyone, regardless of who they are.
Yeah, and she's running for governor. She's going to win it in South Carolina. Hey, here. Although I hate to lose her in Congress, to tell you the truth. Here's more Karen Kennedy. Well,
so Eric Swalwell is still in a giant trash heap of trouble. Yeah, over the weekend, a lot of things happened. He withdrew from the governor's race, as he should, but he also needs to just stop faking the funk. He needs to just withdraw from Congress. This is ridiculous. You are not morally upstanding. You have shown that you have no moral compass. You can't manage shit, and you don't need to still be in that position. That's taxpayer money that you're stealing. Just your very presence.
Yeah, Tammy, maybe they got skeletons in their closets. Maybe not even that, but just bad things they want to protect. You know, it might not be quite that, but it might be other info that would look pretty bad if it got out.
There, you're stealing taxpayer money. An apology is not going to do it. We don't care. Eric Swalwell persecuted Justice Brett Kavanaugh with that Christine Blasey Ford bitch that we still, none of that ever got resolved, really. And they held the country hostage in September of 2018 over a complete and total fabrication. She made it all up, but she did clean up. She made a lot of money during that time. She got paid from a lot of different sources. So I guess whatever. So he persecuted Justice Brett Kavanaugh to keep him out of that seat. He also persecuted President Trump with the Russia hoax. But he also persecuted, and that was, there again, shown to be a complete hoax and fabrication, but he also persecuted George Santos. Remember that? That wasn't that long ago. They hurry up and got George Santos out of that seat. Once they went so far as to quickly refer him to the Justice Department during that time. And that was under Joe Biden. So that shit got done quick, fast, in a hurry. Yeah, there was no giant, long, drawn out process of, investigations and all this, calling witnesses, calling George Santos to be a witness, and committee hearings and public hearings. They didn't have all that. They did a motion to remove, and he got removed. Yeah, and referred to the Department of Justice, and he had to serve jail time. The only reason George Santos is out is because President Trump gave him a full and complete pardon. Yeah. So Eric Swalwell.
Wish the gun laws were better here in New York. It's really hard, and they tax the hell out of the bullets. So I don't have a gun. I'm totally for it, but I don't have one.
You're reaping what you sowed. You persecuted everybody else. And you thought you were going to continue to get away with all this bullshit, the fang crap. And now all of these 50 plus women have said that you either raped them, sexually assaulted them, groped them. I mean, bro, you look like you've been beaten about the head with a 2x4. What the fuck?
England, you can't get that.
Why do you think you're like this hot ticket item? Y'all ain't got mirrors in y'all house. Anyway, no, you don't get to keep collecting a congressional salary that is very handsome salary, free health care, free child care, free dental. They get the best health care in the country because he's higher than a federal employee. But you want to of course you want to keep getting all that. But see, that means that you get to keep the seat. And you get to pretend that you're some pillar in the community. You're not. You don't even represent your district. Is he even still? Dude, Speaker Johnson, something is going to have to be done. Representative Anna Paulina Luna said that she was going to file a motion to expel from Congress. That needs to happen quick. Ethics committee, we don't need a long drawn out process, because the longer he's in there, the longer he's stealing my money. And I've had it with these pathetic loser ass politicians who continue to steal money and pretend that they are some morally upstanding citizen when they're nothing but a bunch of nasty, disgusting degenerates. Get him out. He got everybody else removed. It's time for him to go.
All right, here's about the leftist agenda in Virginia.
As the battle continues over our Second Amendment rights here in Virginia, there is almost nothing better than having state law enforcement on the side of the people. This message was issued today by Virginia State Police, and it is absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Virginia State Police and Jeffrey S. Katz, for this message and for standing firmly on the people's and our constitutional rights. This statement says the Virginia State Police is aware of recent online sentiment expressing concern that proposed firearms-related legislation will ultimately lead to the door-to-door confiscation of people's firearms. I want to speak to this clearly and plainly. There is no legislative proposal seeking to do this, and there will not be. VSP works each day to enhance safety and protect civil liberties. Those liberties were not granted by government and will not be impeded by government. Not now, not ever. Activity of this nature is by its very nature un-American. Thank you very much, Virginia State Police. You are awesome, and we love you for everything that you do.
Amen on that. Amen on that. Let's go about the ballots. This is in California, I believe.
All right. An update from the Colorado GOP State Assembly. So we are witnessing right now on the floor what's happening right now. Serious credentialing issues. There is 80 extra paper ballots.
Somehow they have more votes than they have people. Oh, I wonder how that happens.
That has been cast in comparison to the credentialed delegate number count. So right now, we are sitting in an auditorium, in an arena, full of over 1,000 delegates, because, mind you, half of them have already left because we finished our voting process, and a lot of them already left. So now, we have just recently heard, a few minutes ago from the parliamentarian, that there is a 80 paper ballot discrepancy.
That lip piercing would annoy me if I had that.
In comparison to the credentials. This is par for the course for this entirely dysfunctional evening, morning, afternoon, night, you name it. This entire day has been operated in complete dysfunction.
Oh, Lord.
And we are now witnessing on the floor right now, down there, they're all these people are trying to figure out the best solution forward for the Colorado GOP State Assembly in this huge.
She just signed something that's really anti-Republican. I can't remember what it was. Just recently was all cheering about it. It doesn't even seem like it would be legal.
Election fiasco regarding paper ballots, false, I wouldn't say it's false credentials, but it is miscounted credentialing of the delegates and the 80 extra paper ballots that were cast. Because, now here's the reason, because entrances and exits into this arena were scanned by the credentials committee. And because on the initial entry, some of these delegates were not properly scanned in their entrance, they may never have got considered as the official credential count went into the ballot counting. So we are in complete disarray.
You think they had plants in there?
Here down in Pueblo. A lot of trouble, keeping you updated. Stay tuned.
I think they're trying to influence who gets in. They're hand-picking instead of actually having them,
Dear Democrat Party supporters who may be confused, I get it. You're watching all of this unfold, the shifting political landscape, Trump's growing support, and the rise of the new Republican Party, and you're wondering, what is happening? Let me be clear. The new Republican Party is not the old Republican Party. In fact, it doesn't even include many so-called Republicans, because they're part of the same corrupt system that has been stealing from you, lying to you, and keeping you distracted while they consolidate power. This isn't about party loyalty anymore. It's about freedom versus corruption. Ask yourself, how much more are you willing to overlook?
Wow,
a massive government audit just exposed billions in fraud.
Yep,
that should be a win for everyone. But suddenly, some people are panicking acting like accountability is a bad thing. Why? Because when corruption is exposed, the guilty scramble. If you're against rooting out fraud, you're either benefiting from it, or you're so deep in party loyalty that you can't handle the truth. Do you realize how wealthy this country is? Do you understand how much has been stolen from you while you struggle with rising costs and empty promises? Do you really think trillion-dollar deficits just happen? That endless wars, shady foreign deals, and corporate payoffs are just the costs of doing business?
The trillion-dollar deficits are happening because they're letting so many illegals in partially, plus the things like the hospice stuff and the those other types of scams like that.
I believe in debate. I believe in different perspectives. We need two parties. But what happens when one of them stops being a political movement and starts operating like a crime syndicate? What happens when deception, greed, and outright theft become their business model? How much more do they have to steal before you say enough? This isn't left versus right anymore. It's right versus wrong. And if you still refuse to see it, what will it take?
Those are pretty well done, actually. All right, out in California, they're still letting dudes compete in women's sports in the high school. So this guy sets all these records here and wins all the races. Then they interview him as if he's really a woman, which he's not. It's a dude.
A.B. Hernandez, what an incredible final Arcadia Invitational, the 58th Arcadia Invitational. Just truly
incredible. Listen to Ant saying, hey, dude, why are you cheating? That's what I'd be asking.
Extraordinary time management, energy, endurance, and oh, by the way, 5'8", 20 feet 3, lifetime best 42.6. I had a moment.
Well, I wonder how that's a record. Maybe because you're a lot taller than the other women?
To share with you while you were getting outfitted with
a dude a lot taller than other women. A little makeup and the hair back, that doesn't make you a woman.
With all the awards and the swag and the backpacks and the shirts, can you put voice to how powerful 42.6 is for you, and we're only on April 11th?
I think it's really huge. I know I wanted to come out big, and being able to do it, my first attempt.
You're still a dude, even though you try to act feminine.
It was just astronomically amazing, you know, like it just felt so surreal, and
this pees me off to no end.
Saw the jump, and I was just like, that was it. Like, that was the one. It felt good. Everything felt powerful, and it was amazing.
And to do it after everything that had already happened, all the attempts in the high jump, all the attempts in the long jump, how uplifting is that you had already put so much work out there on the runway or the infield, and you're still jumping 42.6.
Yeah, I think I just really honed in on what I needed to do and just really mentally prepare myself, because I knew it was going to be hard, and just like pushing myself a little extra. I've been like struggling a little bit this season, but this meet just really showed that I can just push.
Struggling, you're competing against women.
Through, and I can continue to do that hopefully next weekend as well. So it's awesome.
Then the long jump, you hit 20 feet 3 once, not twice, but 3 times. How nice was that to go over 23 times?
It felt really good because I've been struggling to get back into the 20s this year. So being able to hit it back to back to back was just awesome, and really just showed what I can do. And I just need to trust myself, because I just wasn't trusting my mark, and I was just constantly in my head. And
they ought to sue the officials.
Here, I just got out of my head and just said, you know what to do, just do it.
Compete with the men like you are, you dude. Really.
I was just offered $400 to make an anti-Donald Trump propaganda post related to the January 6th investigation that is completely not true. I should start out this video by saying I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, so that should give a little bit of context to where I'm coming from. I'm an attorney. I post legal news and analysis on related topics. Okay, here we go with the story. So first thing first, I get an email from somebody with the Good Info Foundation. We'll talk about them a little more in a minute. I'm going to refer to this person as Jane. Jane sent me a message letting me know she represented the Good Info Foundation and that she was willing to offer a paid collaboration to discuss some topics related to January 6th. I said, sure, why not? I'll learn some more. Jane says the Good Info Foundation will give me $400 to make a post on my page and then share it to Instagram. So you see that blue link? All right, here we're going to follow it.
That's the NGOs. They got all the money in the world, don't they? Our tax dollars.
These are the specific requirements in order to obtain that $400 of how I should refer to the January 6th Capitol raid. Number one, I must call this a criminal conspiracy. Number two, I must say Trump Republicans were responsible. Number three, I must frame it as an attack on my country, an attack on America or Americans, a criminal conspiracy, and a committed crime. I must attribute the matter to MAGA Republicans. I must make clear that this was ongoing and unresolved. And most importantly, that I must channel all.
Must do this, must do that, must do this. Regardless of your opinion, we got to all, that's why they always come up with the same exact message on the left. And they're trying to get conservatives to do the same thing.
All of this unto the manipulation of voter agency so that I could turn their anger around this event into defiance that would make people more likely to vote in midterms. And the thing that struck me the most was this part, where I was told to talk about the aspects of the Trump campaign's plan. And I was supposed to say that the Trump campaign paid literally millions of dollars to make January 6th happen. So I think
also just make something up on the millions of dollars.
Maybe I missed something. So I said, "Hey, Jane, what is the basis for the claim that the Trump campaign itself paid millions of dollars to make the January 6th siege of the Capitol happen?" Jane doesn't answer the question. "Hi, Preston. If you don't want to state that in the video, it's fine. You don't have to use all the bullet points provided." So I kept going. "Sure, I'm just wondering if there's support for that claim." Jane doesn't answer again. "Let me know if you are interested and the rate works for you. Thanks so much." I'm not interested, and the rate doesn't work for me. This is the Good Info Foundation. They boast on their homepage that good information is the lifeblood of a democracy. They further cry that we are in an information
The best info they can buy.
crisis. And
sort of like the best Congress they can buy out.
The crazy thing about all of that? They're right.
Wow, unreal. Watch what's going on in Europe here.
My home country, Germany, just announced that they're ramping up the draft for young men. Even though our defense minister just proclaimed that he's no longer making a distinction between men and women in the military, but when it comes to an actual war, suddenly chromosomes do seem to matter.
Ich glaube, wir müssen mit der jungen Generation auch darüber reden, dass wir sie brauchen zur Verteidigung unseres Landes und auch zur Verteidigung des NATO-Gebietes. Ich bin übrigens dafür, dass wir an der Stelle keinen Unterschied mehr zwischen Frauen und Männern machen. Das wollen wir allgemein nicht mehr in der Gesellschaft, und auch in diesen Fragen sollten wir keinen Unterschied mehr zwischen Frauen und Männern machen.
And they slipped in this charming little rule. Every German man under 45 now has to report to the Bundeswehr and ask for official permission if he wants to leave the country for more than 3 months. That sounds a lot like how they held people in captivity in East Germany during socialism. Think about that. German young men don't want to join the military, and honestly, who can blame them? Because in Germany, the Bundeswehr is not respected. It's looked down upon because of our controversial history. So you're not dying for Germany, you're dying for a government that hates everything that Germany actually stands for. Patriots who truly love our country get smeared as far right. And now they're supposed to sacrifice their lives for a country that is occupied by demons. They betray our people every single day. They call love for our country extremism, while they strip away our freedoms and treat men like property of the state. The truth is, they are treating white German men like sacrificial pawns because they are supposed to die out, because we are supposed to get replaced. Meanwhile, they're forcing propaganda on us white women to mate with immigrants, even though studies have now proven that that actually goes against our natural instincts. We are done repenting for crimes that we, Germans alive today, did not commit. Not even my grandparents. And I am done watching my country being destroyed from within.
All part of their plan. Totally is. I forgot to tell everyone that they took down my YouTube earlier today. I appealed and got it right back. They said for spamming somehow. I don't know. I play clips and talk about them. But they've been trying to take me down. I thought I'd lost my 24th channel for a while. I'm playing this on the 25th channel. That one hasn't gone down, not the 24th one. I switched over just in case, because I got 2 YouTubes and I played to one or the other at a time. Anyways. All right, let's go. This is about the blue states here and voting.
So the state of Wisconsin currently has 7.14 million registered voters. Now that is a problem because the state of Wisconsin only has about 5 million adults. Like that simple math says that doesn't work. You have a state that has right around 5.1 million adults, people who are over the age of 18. Yet somehow there are currently 7.14 million registered voters.
Shh, you're not supposed to bring that up. Shh. They're busy cheating.
In the state that has 5.1 million adults. On top of that, the voter rolls are growing daily. Every single day, there are at least 5,000 to 10,000 people.
I have it, Kirk, because of a lot of communications. That's where I started out, was on Facebook originally, then YouTube, then went from there.
Who are registering to vote in the state of Wisconsin. How is that possible? How is that not under
I do a lot of messaging through Facebook.
investigation? How is that not just stopped elections in the state of Wisconsin? When you have nearly 2 million more people registered to vote than you have adult citizens, that is either fraud or it's...
Well, the left can't do math anyways.
No, that's definitely fraud.
It is absolutely fallen. How much time have I got here? Okay. We got just enough time for this.
You thought President Trump was made of Teflon? Wait till you remember what Melania Trump is made of. First of all, here's a woman, no gossip rag.
It'll take me right up to
She is a modern miracle in the age of rumor mills and false witness. In 2016, a Slovenian magazine insinuated that Melania had worked as a high-end escort during her international modeling career in the 90s. Melania filed a libel suit in Slovenia.
Programming note, I should be on tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, and I believe I'll have a guest on. We'll wait and see for sure, but I believe I'll have a guest on tomorrow, so it should be a good show. So don't talk here later. I'll see you at 5 tomorrow as well. All right?
Resulting in the magazine issuing a formal apology, retracting their claims completely, and paying Melania a settlement. Then a random blogger named Webster Tarpley published a blog post on tarpley.net, repeating and expanding unsubstantiated rumors, zero evidence, but rumors, and was arguing that she had suffered a nervous breakdown. Melania sued him in Maryland court for defamation. Tarpley issued a full public retraction, acknowledging his statements were false and defamatory and harmful to her and her family. He paid her a, quote, substantial sum as part of the settlement. The Daily Mail stepped in it too. Their mud-minded tabloid selves decided to insinuate that Melania had troubling questions in her past about how she met Donald Trump. Melania sued for $150 million. The Daily Mail immediately issued an initial retraction after the suit was filed, but Melania did not stop. She pursued her case in both U.S. and U.K. court, and Daily Mail had to pay her in damages and costs. The Daily Mail issued a public retraction and apologized. Quote, "We accept that these allegations about Mrs. Trump are not true," Daily Mail admitted, "and we retract and withdraw them. We apologize to Mrs. Trump for any distress that our publication caused her." Then we had the case of the Daily Telegraph in an article titled "The Mystery of Melania" by gossip hack Nina Burley. The envy-filled hag scribbled multiple false claims, including that Melania's modeling career struggled independently until Donald Trump helped her, and then pushed falsehoods about her family and personal life, and even said that Melania cried on election night. Again, zero evidence. The Daily Telegraph had a much weaker stomach than the Daily Mail. Melania Trump sent them a letter, and within days, the Telegraph was on their knees begging forgiveness. The Telegraph published a full and unreserved apology, retracted the false allegations, removed the article, and paid Melania, again, quote, substantial damages, plus legal costs. In their apology, they admitted their claims were not true and that they regretted publishing the lies. Despite all of this, it didn't stop thick-in-the-head opportunists like gossip slob Michael Wolff. Wolff claimed a dead pedophile shared stories about Melania and Trump tied to Epstein, claims that he could not prove. The Daily Beast ran with it. They ran a headline claiming Melania was very involved in the Epstein scandal. A headline Daily Beast retracted and apologized over. The Raging Cajun, James Carville, remember him, also repeated these claims. Melania sent another letter. Carville was reduced to giving a groveling apology during an episode of his brain-rotting podcast. HarperCollins UK publishes similar stories in a Prince Andrew book. Melania sends a third letter. Are we seeing a pattern here? HarperCollins retracts and apologizes. As hard as the left tries to take down Melania, they can't. Because the only thing they can use to attack her are with lies. And yesterday was a wonderful reminder of that. But yesterday's announcement was something else as well, and it took everyone for a spin.
Could be, Tammy.
Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
Now, some of the victims' responses were very interesting. Instead of welcoming the chance to put their testimony on the record, over a dozen victims put a joint statement together denouncing the call. They labeled it an unwelcome shifting of the burden. Their statement went on. It also diverts attention from former Attorney General Pam Bondi, who must answer for withheld files and the exposure of survivors' identities. Now, this is strange. Pam Bondi was just a former authority figure who clearly did not understand much about the Epstein story herself. But the very women who literally helped write the Epstein story were an integral part of it. The ones who were victimized, the ones who knew the names and the faces of the Epstein accomplices, they are demanding Bondi testify instead? When it comes to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, some have rightly asked whether it was a two-way street, whether Epstein abused girls and they in turn grew up to become accomplices, helping to recruit others. If that was the tragic case, it would make sense why these women are not keen on putting their stories in the public record, as the First Lady is asking. But maybe there's another explanation.
They always come after him.
You tell me. What is clear is that First Lady Melania Trump just threw down the gauntlet. Melania reminded the world last night that there are two kinds of women in the world in the age of gossip and lies. Either you're a woman willing to fight for the truth on the public record, or you're not.
Colin, win one for the Irish over there, will you? They need it. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye. God bless. See you tomorrow.